Hi, everybody, and welcome to our week 2 social studies online learning video. Before I get started with our new information for this week, I wanted to go over some house cleaning issues, just a few updates about what's coming up this week, and maybe some changes in our class format as to how we do meetings. First off, Schoology is going to be updated in the next few days. The school district purchased an additional package to allow us to do more things with the site. So you're going to want to make sure that once they transition over, that the email that you signed up with when you first logged on is your school email, because it's only going to recognize school emails from this point forward. So if you're unsure if you sign up with your school email or you need to change it, please let me know. And I've got a video, I've got an email with step-by-step photographs and directions to show you how to get that done. So make sure that in the next couple of days that we check that email, because we don't want you to not be a part of the transition forward with the new update. Second thing that I wanted to go over was our new Zoom meeting times. My office hours are Tuesday and Thursday. And with the amount of kids that we had, I think we had around 50 that were on the Zoom meeting on Tuesday. Last Tuesday, I am going to break up our Zoom meeting to where I have 7th grade from 12 to 1 and then 8th grade from 11 to 12 on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, just so that we can break up the grades to where people can get their questions answered, or just maybe say hi in a timely manner. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our new information for our new chapter, the Israelites. Let me share my screen with you. All right, so first up, we have King David. David is considered to be one of the greatest Israelite kings, if not the greatest, yet he was not born into royalty, which, as we saw in Egypt, to be a pharaoh, you had to be born into royalty. But with the Israelites, David was definitely not that royal bloodline king. David was a goat or sheep shepherd that became a leader of the Israelite people. As their king, he united the Israelites and expanded their lands. He was also the author of the Psalms, or poems often used in prayer and song. David stands as the greatest among many important leaders who guided the Israelites throughout history. So we're going to hear that name several times throughout this section of the book, King David. Okay, let's get to our next resource. Okay, here we have a map of Israel and the Israelite kingdom. As you can see, as we're going through here, and the map updates itself, that there were several kingdoms and empires in the part of the world at this time known as the Middle East and Northern Africa. So last time, ladies and gentlemen, we were down here with the Cushites and the Egyptians down here in, what was it, Northeast Africa. We're going to move up to Israel, which the Israelite kingdom, which is here, which will be shown here in a brief moment by our map, just kind of giving you guys where we've been and where we're going. And this is our section of Mesopotamia that we were at before we started focusing on Egypt. You'll notice the Tigris and the Euphrates River there, with Mesopotamia here in the middle. So let me just update some of the empires that we saw in Israel at this time. First, we had the Assyrians. Okay, so everything inside there of that blue was the Assyrian Empire. Also, at times throughout history, it dipped down to Egypt at the conclusion of our Egypt chapter. It talked about how Egypt was eventually overtaken by the Assyrians. Next, we have the Babylonian Empire. Next, in a rather large, vast empire, we had the Persian Empire. And as you can see, that spreads vastly throughout the Middle East and again down into Egypt. Next, we had the Kingdom of Israel, and it's a small little section here that'll come up on the map, the Kingdom of Israel. And you can see that small pinkish section right there. Let me go ahead and take off the Persian Empire just because it was so vast, that overpowering kind of green there. So we have the Israeli Empire, and then we had the Kingdom of Judah, okay, which was here. And then lastly, we had the Canaan Empire, okay, which again dipped down into Egypt and up through the Middle East, all the way into Mesopotamia. If anybody has any questions over that map, please feel free to either shoot me an email or during those Zoom meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 1, please go ahead and ask those questions then. All right, next we have a timeline. Let's see if I can expand that timeline out. So this timeline starts in 3000 BC. This was 3,000 years before the death of Jesus Christ. We have what was going on in the Israelite Empire, and then what was going on in the rest of the world. So here we have right about 2050 BC. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, leading up to historical times in the death of Jesus Christ, that's when our calendar started back at 0. So in this time period, they count down to the eventual death of Jesus Christ. So that's why it goes from larger to smaller, where now it goes from smaller to larger. 2020 2021, it counts up where here it counted back. So 2,540 Egyptians complete the building of the Great Empire of the Great Pyramid. 1800 BC, according to the Hebrew Bible, Abraham traveled to Canaan. In 1290 BC, according to the Hebrew Bible, Moses leads the Israelites from Egypt. And many of you know that story about the Jewish people, Israelites, we'll get into why they're called the Jewish people later on in our chapter. But the Israelites were led out of Egypt. They were held captive there, and they were a big part of building the Great Pyramids. But then eventually in biblical stories that Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt and into what we would know now as the state of Israel. 1000 BC, King David rules in Jerusalem. So we already spoke a little bit about King David and what a huge impact that he had on the kingdom of Israel, the non-royal king. All right, then in 722 BC, Assyrians invade northern kingdom of Israel. And we already saw on that map prior about the Assyrian kingdom. In the rest of the world, 700 BC, Homer writes the Iliad and the Odyssey. And for those of you that don't know the Iliad or the Odyssey, I believe it is a book you will read in high school. 1530 BC, Confucius develops his philosophy in China. 586 BC, Chaldeans destroy Jerusalem. Also in 530 BC, Buddhism arises in India. And then in 330 BC, Alexander the Great conquers the Persian Empire. There was the Maccabean revolt in 168 BC, and then you'll notice here, ladies and gentlemen, that our calendar counts down, and then we start again here. So there would have been the crucifixion and death of Jesus Christ sometime in this time period, because then we have counted down, now we're counting back up. And a lot of people say after death, which is after the death of Jesus Christ, but it is a Greek term meaning anno Domini. So we have in AD 55, Paul preaches Christianity in Asia Minor. AD 66, Jews revolt against Rome. And then lastly here in AD 70, Romans destroy the temple in Jerusalem. So that those two rivals right there, Rome and Israel, we're going to see them clash several times in our chapter. Or excuse me, in our section. Okay, so there were a few resources that I wanted to share with you. We aren't going to get into the actual section this week on Israel. We're going to do a few worksheets getting us ready leading up to start that section of the book. These are the 3 worksheets that I want you to work on. And something different that I wanted us to do this week is I know that in reading emails, a lot of people had trouble with the PDF version of these files, and they were having a hard time saving what they wrote on the files. This week, what I want you to do is just look at the worksheet on your computer, use your book to find the information, and then in an email, just put the title of the worksheet, number it, and then put your answers. You don't need to have the actual worksheet itself. Just give me the answers. So for example, your email would say the Israelites and Canaan. And then you would number it 1 through 3. You don't need to write down actually, you know what? I am going to want you to write down the questions. So we're going to go ahead and write down the questions and then write down our answers. And then send that to me in an email. You don't have to use a Word document if you don't like. You can just simply send that email to me with the title of the worksheet and the answers, and then I'll put that in the grade book. And there's been several different ways that people have been sending me assignments. I've had people share Google Docs with me. I've had people turn it in to Schoology. I've had people take pictures of it and send it to me. I've had people just send those emails. So whatever way works best for you to get the work done, that is fine with me as long as I get the assignment turned in. but the method to me really doesn't matter. Okay. So in this worksheet, we're going to read a little bit about the Israelites and Canaan, look at a map, a little bit of reading. Then we're going to answer these questions. We're going to analyze visuals. We're going to determine cause and effect. Again, remember, cause and effect are what happened and what happened because of it. And then lastly, we're going to be explaining. All right, let me get to our next worksheet. Okay, in this worksheet, we're going to be doing a little bit of problem solving. We're going to read a little bit about David, answer a few problem solving process questions. And then we're going to come down and do a little bit more reading about David, and then identify, analyze, and evaluate. All skills that we've done several times this year. So again, ladies and gentlemen, on this worksheet, you wouldn't need to do any more than just put the title and then write the questions out and put your answers down in an email and then send those to me. So as long as I know what worksheet that it is and what number that you're answering, we'll be fine. So don't worry about turning stuff into Schoology if that isn't working for you. Just send me an email and I'll get it in the grade book. All right, lastly, move it up here a little bit. We have our primary source activity, which is the Hebrew Bible, which we saw several times in our timeline. We're going to read a little bit about the features of the Hebrew Bible, a few passages from the Hebrew Bible, and then answer a few questions about that primary source. So if you have any questions about anything on this worksheet or the email settings for Schoology, please shoot me an email and I can send you step by step to make sure that your email settings are correct. And then also we have those new Zoom meeting Tuesdays and Thursday hours for just 7th grade. If you need me to send you I will send out to everybody again this week what the meeting ID is and what the password, just so that everybody has it. And it's going to be the same ID and password every week for us up until June 15th, which will be our last day of school. So I hope that some of the things that I went over today helped you. And I'm so proud of everybody as we are transitioning here to this online learning. I hope that quite a few of us got a lot of the wrinkles worked out this week. And again, I just want to thank all of you and tell everybody how much I miss you guys, and can't wait to see you guys again as 8th graders. So have a wonderful week 2, and please feel free to send me an email if you have any questions with anything. People are saying, I don't mean to bother you. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not bothering me at all. This is my passion. This is what I love to do. So, please feel free to email me and I'll try to get an email back to you as soon as I can. So have a wonderful week 2, and I will talk to you later.